The ANC Youth League is calling for the removal of DA ministers as well as deputy ministers from the Government of National Unity due to their refusal to support the 2025-2026 budget. The youth wing is also demanding an investigation into the leak of an audio recording from the ANC's parliamentary caucus, where the party leaders state that if the DA did not back the revised budget, it would effectively be pushing itself out of the GNU. The DA voted against the budget in the National Assembly on Wednesday. Youth League Secretary General Mntuwoxolo Ngudle joins me live now to give us their perspective. Mr. Ngudle, good to have you on the program this evening. I want to start with your call for DA ministers to be removed from the Government of National Unity. What message do you believe the rejection of the budget sends, especially to ordinary South Africans, especially the youth?
Thank you for having us on studio today. Look, the DA is in the GNU, and that GNU is led by the ANC, and at the helm of it, the president of the ANC. Now, when a discussion about the budget, which gives effect to the programs that ought to be implemented by government, is being voted in Parliament, particularly after procedural processes in Parliament, your select committees, your finance committee have said, and the NT, which is the National Parliament, and the NCOP would have taken a view on the budget. Now, once that matter is done, then the DA, which is part of the executive in this current form, says, no, we're not voting for that budget. How are they going to implement, as ministers and deputy ministers, a budget that they did not vote for? I'm saying this is a very serious contradiction that the DA is doing. Actually, I agree. Whether it's a leaked audio, there is nothing controversial about it. When you don't vote for a budget, you are actually creating uncertainty in this country, both in terms of the political uncertainty and also economic uncertainty in terms of the measures. So you are also trying to weaken us now as South Africa, you know, into what we call foreign investors in this country. So you are creating instability. So how do you become part of that particular executive if you are doing that?
You accuse the DA of causing instability, but very interesting, you've also accused the party of negotiating in bad faith and pursuing policies that hurt the poor. In your view, what would good faith participation in the GNU actually look like?
Good faith participation would mean you look at the state of your own economy. South Africa's economy, everybody knows, it has not been performing. If the economy doesn't perform, what that means is that government exists at the backdrop of what we call taxes, rates, and revenues. Now, when the economy doesn't perform, those can't be drawn. That's why you have got what is called a budget deficit. It's as a result that the economy did not perform. So goods and services produced in this particular year or the past year did not produce enough revenues for the state to be able to disperse in its different programs and projects. And the DA knows this. And we have been saying as the Youth League, the economy, this discussion won't be there, actually. This discussion of whether we should be increasing VAT, we should be looking at this. The fiscal instruments would be the current existing or the then existing fiscal instruments would be sufficient to draw the necessary revenue into the fiscals for purposes of ensuring that the government of the day is able to perform its duties. Now, the DA is not even arguing other, discussions which are progressive, that let's look at the, expenditure items, you see, of the budget, whether all of these expenditure items of the budget are necessary for purposes of the existing revenues. All that they are doing, when they propose, they look into the expenditure items, they look at education, they look at health. I mean, they try to cut from budget that is going to empower the poor. Because South Africa's poor are black. And the DA wants to perpetuate as though it is standing for the poor when it says VAT of 0.5 is going to affect, you see, the poor. It's a lie.
But let's look at that perspective. The DA's main objection here was this 0.5 VAT increase. Many South Africans, especially low-income households are already worried about how this will affect their daily lives. How do you then reconcile the Youth League support of the budget with these concerns that we are talking about?
I'm saying to you, and this is the matter you must consider very, very seriously. When you zero rate all items that are consumed by the working class and the poor, you see, it's like the issue that had been raised. If you zero rate them, of course, there are other effects of input cost and so on. When you also zero rated, you see, the fuel levy, it means the input costs on any production of any commodity will be mitigated. You see? Now, you are saying luxury goods are the ones that we are not going to be able to zero rate because there is a budget deficit. There's something we're dealing with here. Of course, had we avoided that, there would be no discussion about the VAT. You see? Because I'm saying, had we invested in the productive sectors of the economy and we ensured that the economy performs, we will be having enough revenues. We didn't do that, right? And we are now at this particular conjuncture. And we're saying, let's resolve this thing for South Africa and South Africa's economy. The DA chooses a populist stance, you see? And that is why the discussion, you see, at least an opposition like Action SA, you see, is an opposition, it's not even in the GNU, has a measured response and say, okay, we adopt the fiscal framework, you see, but can you look into ensuring that maybe we don't go the VAT route, look into other, avenues. But the reality is that you have a financial year which you must fund, you see, a financial year which you must fund, you can look into all the fiscal instruments available. You see, when you are doing fiscal management, there are three things you are dealing with when you're dealing with fiscal management. One, you are dealing with government expenditure. The second, two, you are dealing with tax regimes. In the available tax regimes, what can you do, you see, to avail that which can augment the budget gap or budget deficit, right? Or you are dealing with what is called debt to GDP. You see, the government, the biggest item in the current budget is servicing of debt. You see, followed, of course, by education and other stuff. But if you continue to go and borrow, right, it means you are plunging your own country into a debt crisis wherein you are not going to be able to come out of. So you don't want to go further into debt capital markets to borrow. You want to look into available tax regimes, what can be done within the immediate effect. But our call is not to increase perpetual VAT. Our call is that in the meantime, when we could not find, and we are saying the DA should have a measured understanding. We don't want instability ourselves in this country, but they must have a measured way of looking into this country. But they are looking at populist stances because you see the DA is becoming, very, very populist.
Let's track
even
back
on foreign policy and other things.
Let's track back a bit. You've argued that the DA's alternative, cutting government spending by, 24%, would be even worse for the poor. What kind of fiscal approach would the Youth League then advocate for that balances social spending but also sustainability as well?
We've been very clear, as the Youth League, that we are saying that we must do what we call direct financing on the productive sectors of the economy. We must not go further on what we call consumptive spending. Let's have productive spending. And once you have direct financing, and because I don't want to talk about qualitative easing, printing of money, it's going to create devaluation of our rand. So you do direct financing. There are available capital flows, right? Consolidate them, ensure that they go to productive sectors. In that way, you have got a multiplier effect in the economy that will create different revenues for government and also ensuring that the economy performs. All you need, you must have enough capital to inject in the economy in order that the economy performs. And that's why we support areas like, direct financing on infrastructure. Because infrastructure build programs have got a multiplier effect on the supply side of construction and also ensuring that it creates the much needed jobs in the economy. That's what we're talking about. We've been saying industrialize the South African economy, that it creates jobs, that it performs in order for government to be able to have enough revenues for it to drive its ambitious program of developing South Africa and developing South Africa's economy. We need to expand this economy. We need to invest in the continent. We need money. Money is not coming from trees. Money has to come from taxes, rates, and revenues. And that's why I was saying fix EXCOM, fix the logistics networks, fix the import and export terminals, and so that government in all these players, in all these sectors, it is able to draw enough revenues to drive this ambitious program of development and modernization of South African society.
Mr. Ngudle, as we start winding down our conversation, the mother body, the ANC, has said it won't remove parties from the GNU, but rather the parties remove themselves through their actions. What then is the purpose of your call for the DA's removal if, by your own party's logic, their vote already speaks for itself, really?
I'm saying, Klandla, when you say you don't support budget and you vote against it and you go to court, you further go to court against the same executive you're sitting in, you're walking out. That's what you are doing. And we're saying the ANC must not hesitate. If the DA is walking out, they must invite other parties within South African National Parliament who are for the development, modernization, and advancement of this country. It is clear that the DA, they are playing an underhand to undermine the stability of this country if they are doing what they are doing. All what they are trying to do is scapegoating, you know, we're using all forms of, I'm saying lies, because they started by saying scrap the Bella Bill, scrap NHI, you know, scrap the progressive policies. We said to our own ANC, the movement, once we go and regress on the transformative policies, we are going to be the ones, the Youth League, going to be the ones marshalling these young people across this country. Because 70% of the unemployed in this country are young people. And we're not going to accept anything that further drives them down, you know, a race to the bottom for these young people. And they are Africans. You see, that's the problem. Here, you have got the black poor youth problem. You see, the black poor women problem. It's women and young people who are a face of poverty in this, who are black, by the way, in the main. And we're not going to accept the Democratic Alliance to want South Africans to accept to live in squalor conditions, in poverty and underdevelopment, when we are saying, let's build a South Africa that reflects the demographic of this country in terms of affluence. And we must not have, we shouldn't be having, Klandla, what we are having, people living in squalor conditions like in the informal settlement and in the underdeveloped rural poor. We shouldn't be having that. We have enough resources in this country to ensure that we can build a society that is thriving, a society that of affluent people, you know, and we've been making different propositions, you know, of even minerals bank, you know, so that we can play in the capital markets. We've got us in Zimbabwe here, you know, 70% of the world's platinum reserves, you know. All of those things can create what we call mineral bank, and against it, play in the capital market, avail capital to build the industries we're talking about, to ensure that the ambitious programs of government are functional.
Mntuwoxolo, thank you so much for your time. Joining us to give the ANC Youth League's perspective on the matter, that was Mntuwoxolo Ngudle, the Secretary General of the ANC Youth League.